at first, can clever be a curse? Or is the image of the lonely kid, a prodigy at maths, just a dumb stereotype? That's kind of what they were asking on BBC Three last night as we followed the adventures, or lack of them, of 13-year-old Cameron Thompson, who prefers sums to sport.
I'm Cameron Thompson, Sir at Maths. I'm kind of a math genius. I'm doing a degree in maths. I've already done maths GCSEs, 2 of them, and a maths A-level.
Nice.
And my certificate of mathematics was a distinction. I'll have a degree when I'm 16.
Sometimes tact, I think it kind of goes right over his head.
He's got no tact?
He often, no.
Or you could have 3.5789 times 10 to the 20. Yeah. You can't go beyond 10 to the 99.
It doesn't get any easier for me to watch the second time around, but to give you a feeling, Cameron is desperate to be a normal teen. He's really into girls and computer games. He even wants to grow a moustache. But his brilliant brain, and that's what it is, means that other kids just don't get him. They pick on him, they leave him out. Now, you may have gleaned that, but Cameron has been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which might explain his difficulties socialising. And it is true that many intellectually gifted children share social characteristics with those on the autistic spectrum. But the tragedy, if that's the right word, is that his gift doesn't seem to make him happy. Yeah? Even his decision to do an open university maths degree at 13 leads to tears.
Anna, slow it.
Cammy, I know this is important to you.
Yes.
But put this in context. Do you really think it's that important? Do you really think it's worth getting upset about?
To do it.
I just want to say something here as well, because it came across quite clear in the programme that his parents weren't pushing him, OK? He very much drove himself, OK? So I want to make that clear. Educational psychologist Karen Cullen says super clever kids can have trouble socialising, which she blames on the prevailing culture of dumbing everything down. You know, it's not cool to be intellectual. However, it's not all everyone else's fault. Super bright children are often perfectionists who suffer intense feelings of shame, guilt and depression if they don't meet their own, or in some cases their teachers or their parents' high expectations. So, questions for you breeders at home. If you could choose, would you rather your child was the stereotyped lonely genius or the popular dimwit? And also, if your child was super gifted, would you push, encourage or even allow them to leapfrog their peers and achieve beyond their years? Terry?
Well, you know, that was very hard to watch. I've got a lad exactly the same age as him. But then, you know, that's Asperger's. Now, I would argue, is that really sort of genius?
Well,
you know, is that you know, he's clever in a certain way.
Yes, but it's super clever.
But it's like an OCD thing. So he was crying over that exam he was going to do. He's driving himself.
He was finding it hard to do a open university degree course at 13.
I think now, you know, to joke slightly, my younger brother, super bright. You know, came first in class all the way through school. You know, we went to, like, you know, St Bede's, which is like the top Catholic grammar school in Manchester. And but what he was good at, Kevin, and I was good at, you know, around where we grew up on the council estate, was, and lads tend to do this, and the British especially, is you cover up how bright you are because it's not seen as cool. So often you would know something, but you'd think, I'm not going to say that to my mates. I don't think women suffer from quite the same thing, you know, if they're very intelligent or very bright. So you would actually cover up how bright you were. I mean, and also, even
Screechy's saying she thinks it's cooler for girls to work hard than it is for boys.
Yeah, and what it is also, as a bloke, and the other British thing is, yes, you can excel and be really super bright, but as long as you're not seen to put any effort in, so as long as you're quaffing a bit of champagne, or, you know what I mean, our Kev used to do his homework in front of the telly. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And he was never called a swot at school, although, you know, he'd absorb information in very quickly, so would I. And I never worked hard, because to work hard was seen to be uncool when I was at school. So, you know, it's that whole thing. We don't mind you being bright as long as it seems effortless and natural.
Yes, yeah, that's very true.
And, but the minute, you know, if you're doing like one of these, you know, Chinese kids who's a genius or a Japanese kid, and it's like, they work really hard, And they're not kind of
Is this a racial stereotype you're coming up with?
No, I'm saying it's a cultural thing. You know, for mathematics with the Chinese, because of the way they say numbers, it makes it easier for them to learn it, because instead of saying 91, they say 9, 10, 1.
What about, though, Zoe, if you had a super bright child? What do you do with them? They're kind of... You're damned if you do leave them where they are, and damned if you push them forward.
It must be heartbreaking. It must be utterly heartbreaking. I mean, I didn't watch the show last night, but his parents mustn't want him to be in this awful turmoil, this awful turmoil. You want your kid to be happy, and you want your kid to feel like they're going to fit in. So, I mean, from my point of view, I would rather that my child was...
What if a child isn't going to fit into the run-of-the-mill student you would encounter at school? What if there is a place for them in some academic number-crunching maths lab in Oxford or Cambridge where there will be like-minded people? Maybe maybe it takes time for somebody like Cameron to find the people that he will feel relaxed with. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean... Again, as long as they were happy in that environment. I mean, the thing is, you tend to choose your friends in your social circles. Your friends are generally on the sort of same intellectual level as you. When you go out to the pub, you talk about the same things or whatever. If you're a genius, that you're really narrowing the band of people that you will feel comfortable being around, and it must be so horribly isolating that I think any parent would just want their kid to be really genuinely to be happy.
What is true genius? You know, I mean, obviously, most of us aren't super thick or super intelligent. We're all, you know, fairly intelligent.
Scale.
You know, a lot of it is just whether you can absorb information, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure actually, because when you see Cameron and what he knows about maths, it is.
It's like he can't turn off. It's like it's constant.
I mean, that's what to do with the autism spectrum, isn't it?
Right.
Watching that rips your heart out, you know, and going along the thing of if you try so hard and you really work hard to achieve those sort of results, it appears to me, not having seen that, but just from what you've been talking about, that kid doesn't have to work too hard to achieve those sort of results. He's almost there.
To do the degree at 13, the tears there were because he was struggling to do it. But, you know... He's put himself under a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. I don't mean to belittle that story in any way, but I can remember being a little bit younger, and I was crying over maths too, but it was... they were add-ups and take-aways, and I couldn't work out how you took something away from something. I always got it wrong, and then somebody said, take 2 from 4, and the answer was 2. And I thought, that's it. If you take something from something, the answer's what's on the bottom line. So... 2 from 11, the answer was 2. You know, it was what was on the bottom line. I thought I'd cracked it. So I had no worries about this sort of stuff.
Well, I'm hearing that Cameron's mum is on the phone now, is that right?
Yes, we have Alison on line 1.
Oh, fantastic. Good morning, Alison.
Hello, yes.
Hi
Good
there.
Morning.
Well, the programme, it was a very bittersweet show to watch, I found. I was an emotional wreck at the end of it, Alison. It must be very difficult knowing what to do with Cameron.
It is, because for one, there is no right or wrong. It's all a balancing game. It's the same for every parent in that we want the best for Cameron. We want him to be happy. We want him to be healthy. We want him to be fulfilled. We want him to achieve his potential the same as any parent does. At the same time as it's constantly trying to get it right. I mean, for a start, his Asperger's sets him aside from the other children around him.
Yes, indeed.
When he was in primary school, before he started doing any of this advanced work, because his teachers kept saying, oh, there's nothing to be done. Oh, no, he's perfectly fine as he is. He couldn't go any faster. He didn't fit in then either. I mean, we moved him from one school after another because he was being bullied repeatedly and it was being ignored.
Is your hope? What is your hope, then? I mean, is it that there is an ivory tower in some distinguished seat of learning where Cameron will find like-minded people that can even understand the maths that he comprehends?
I don't think we're looking for an ivory tower, and people often say, I mean, somebody commented there was no neat ending to the television programme, but that's because there is no ultimate goal as such. There is no ending. This is an ongoing journey. We want him to find people who can He has to find people who can talk to him as a teenager, who help his social emotional development. That's what he gets at Darland High School. At the same time as, through the Open University, he is finding people who can talk about maths. And what, ironically, Professor Leader from Cambridge, who met him, said is that he's going to find Cameron a mentor in mathematics, because best will in the world, we've run out of people in the county who can talk to him about maths at his level. We couldn't find anybody anymore.
Alison, I've got to jump in. I want to take one more quick call if I can, but I have to say, hand on heart, I thought that I congratulate you for taking part in the programme, because it really did, in many ways, destroy the stereotype. Even though there's a lot of truth to it, of the sort of sad, lonely genius, the fact that there was this, actually, a very normal teenager as well, locked in there. I found it fascinating. Thank you, Alison. Thank you. Let's have another. Very quick.
OK, we have Kay on line 2.
Afraid I'm going to have to rush you, Kay, because they want us to take a break, but what would you like to tell us?
I'm just saying being bright can be incredibly lonely.
Yes.
Because men don't necessarily want a girlfriend or a wife who's always telling them they're wrong and, you know, is better than them.
Hello, Kay. That's the only kind of wife there is.
Yeah, but in every minor detail and every fact, I don't think they like it.
No, I think you're probably right. Thank you very much, Kay. I wish we could give that more time, actually. But there we go. After the break, very short...